Plants do some crazy things, and as gardeners, well, why don't you think that's interesting? I do. So we're going to take a break from the frequently asked questions series to record this video, which is about 10 crazy plant facts. Welcome back, casual gardeners. Buckle up because things are about to get weird. Did you know that plants can hear running water? This was a weird enough fact that I had to track it down. Researchers working with garden peas back in 2017, so a while back, found that the garden peas use a secondary method for detecting water in the soil. We already knew that peas and other plants use moisture gradients to direct their roots towards where the water is. But these researchers found that the pea roots would also grow towards the sound of water running in pipes, even in the absence of a moisture gradient in the soil. Which means that in some sense, I'm not sure how, those pea roots were hearing the water. They prefer the moisture gradient, but they can listen for water too. There are some flowers that only bloom one night a year, and there are actually a lot of flowers that bloom less often than that. The queen of the night cactus only blooms for one night each year, and it's a nocturnal blossom, so these are beautiful white blooms with heavenly scent. It blooms nocturnally to attract moths and bats. At dusk, the flowers are just opening up. By dawn, they're withering to be gone for the next year. But other plants bloom even less frequently. The corpse flower only blooms once every 7 to 10 years, and that is a weird flower too. It gets hot and emits a stinky smell like rotting meat to attract beetles, which are its primary pollinators. The century plant down in Central America only blooms once in its entire lifetime. It's not every century like the name would imply. They live for about 10 to 30 years. At the end of their life, they shoot up their blooms, which have flower stalks up to 25 feet long. So they go out with a bang. If you're enjoying this video so far, take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. You know you want to. It's a way you can pay for my work here on YouTube without actually paying anything. Just pay attention. It's a precious commodity. Gloves suck. 3. Carrots were originally purple. Back when I was growing my first purple carrots, it felt really cool because purple carrots are a neat thing now. But it turns out the regular orange carrots that we grow all the time, those are the freaks. The OG carrots grown 5,000 years ago in Afghanistan were purple. There are Egyptian records of purple carrots going back over 2,000 years. It wasn't until the 17th century that Dutch growers, looking to produce a cultivar of carrot that was less bitter and sweeter, came up with the orange carrot. The new orange carrots were adopted as the vegetable of honor by the House of Orange. There are a lot of stories that say carrots were bred orange for the House of Orange, but that's not the case. 4. One sunflower is actually thousands of flowers. Family Asteraceae is cool because each flower is a compound flower. So that means that each flower is actually many flowers. That includes sunflowers, but also coneflowers and zinnias, and even dandelions. Each little flower around the edges of the whole is called a ray flower, and it grows one big petal. The flowers in the center of the disc are called disc flowers, and they don't grow petals that are big and showy. We tend to single out sunflowers because they're particularly big and showy. Young sunflowers will actually track the position of the sun from the east to the west, and then back to the east again in the morning. Older sunflowers, they've got a big old flower on top. It takes a lot of energy to move, so they tend to fix facing east. And that's so that they can warm up faster in the morning to attract pollinators. Number 5, plants can signal distress to other plants and animals. If you injure a plant, it might scream. We don't hear it because it is ultrasonic, beyond the range of human hearing. But there are critters out there that might hear it. and possibly other plants. In addition to screaming, plants alter their appearance and the odors that they emit in response to stress. These emissions can warn other plants nearby so that they can beef up their own defenses in advance of a pest attack. Sometimes they may be intercepted by predators who now know there's prey in the area, I can come eat it, and that benefits the plants too. And don't get me started on the literal telephone network that they build underground. Number 6, frost can dehydrate plants to death. You're gardeners, so you know about frost damage. If you're like me, maybe you thought the damage was just all about the water in the plant cells expanding and rupturing the plant cell walls, and then the plant gets all droopy and slimy and dies. But there's another way that freezes damaged plants: freeze drying. The process of freeze drying is super useful and can be used to preserve food, but in the garden, it just destroys food. After a frost, when the sun comes out, not today, it can sublimate the frozen water, and that results in drying out the plant, even though it's frozen. Number 7, earthworms can create miniature earthquakes. Large numbers of moving, burrowing earthworms can create detectable seismic signals. But that's not all. I discovered something weirder while I was researching this. Have you heard of worm grunting? I hadn't. Worm grunting is the process of driving a wooden stake into the ground and then scraping the stake to create noises underground. This drives the worms to the surface. The two leading hypotheses about why that works is either the worms think there's a subterranean predator like a mole coming their way and they climb out of the ground to escape it, or the worms think they're detecting rainfall on the top of the soil and it's time to come up and emerge from the soil to keep from drowning. Either way, worm grunting is a method used in the southeastern United States to harvest earthworms, probably for fishing. I hope they don't eat them directly. Number 8, these gloves are not flexible. There are tiny maggots in your potting soil. Do you have those annoying little gnats in your home or your potting shed? Their larval stage, or maggots, live in the soil and they can attack plant roots, which is kind of a big deal. Just about everyone with houseplants has to deal with these little monsters at some point. There are several ways you can control fungus gnats in or out of your home. Allow your soil to dry out between waterings. This knocks the population back, it doesn't wipe it out. If you dry your soil enough to wipe out the fungus gnats, your plant will die. You can use cider traps baited with apple cider vinegar. The adults are attracted to the smell. It smells like rotting fruit, and then they drown in the cider. You can water with chamomile tea, and that has some antifungal properties and is bad for the little maggots. Make sure that the tea cools off first, or it will, burn your plant. You can also sprinkle cinnamon over the top of the soil. That's kind of a 1-2 punch against the fungus gnats, and you can reduce their population significantly. You can apply diatomaceous earth to the soil surface. The adults who land on the soil get shredded by that tiny glass fragment stuff, and it can also hurt the maggots as they emerge. You're going to have to reapply every time you water your plant though. Number 9, there might be snake eggs in your compost pile. If you're serious about your compost, your pile probably gets hot, sometimes up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 70 degrees Celsius. Either way, it's really uncomfortable, I think. Reptiles are cold-blooded, but their eggs do better if they're kept warm. Unlike birds, they can't just sit on their eggs, so snakes and other reptiles will find warm spots to lay their eggs in. The good news is that snakes are always beneficial in a garden, even the venomous ones. Bad news is that venomous snakes are not always beneficial for gardeners. Number 10, ants farm aphids so that they can drink their sweet, sweet butt juice. A lot of gardeners are already aware that ants farm aphids. When the aphids are drinking plant sap, it's mostly water, so in order to get the nutrients that they need out of that sap, they have to drink more of it than their body can hold. So what they'll do is they'll excrete the extra stuff that they've kind of filtered out from their butt in a form called honeydew, because somebody figured out it's sweet. I'd hate to be that entomologist, or like going around licking random exudates from insect butts. That's how I picture it. I'm a weirdo. Ants harvest the honeydew because it still has some good nutritional value in it, even after it's passed through the aphid. They'll take that back to their hives to keep them running. Ants will even move aphids around to greener pastures. One thing I learned when I was researching for another video is your garden actually always does better when ants are present, even if they're farming aphids. So firstly, not all ants farm aphids. They're probably all going to drink that butt stuff, but there are probably a lot of ant species also just chomp the aphid, because that's good food too. Secondly, ants don't benefit as much if your aphids are doing heavy damage to the plants. If an aphid wrecks a plant and the ants have to move the aphid further away, the ants have to travel further to get their sweet, sweet butt stuff. And that means that while they're traveling, they're more susceptible to predators themselves. So ants will take care of the plants that the aphids are feeding on and make sure the damage is less than if the aphids were left to their own devices. They're really farmers, and they're taking care of their ecology. And so just calm down, okay? The ants are fine. That's about all the weird gardening facts I have time for today. If you have your own personal trove of weird gardening facts, I would love it if you dropped them down in... I just got dripped on. If you have your own personal trove of weird gardening facts, I would love it if you dropped them down in the comments to entertain us all, and also so I can steal them for a future video. Right now, I am focused on the frequently asked questions series, but I might have ADHD, so I'm going to throw in some other random subjects too. If you're into gardening, make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to my channel. There's a lot more gardening stuff on here for you to see. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today, and I hope you have a wonderful time in your own.